Introduction to Leviticus. One of the stubbornly enduring habits of the human race is to insist on domesticating God. We are determined to tame him. We figure out ways to harness God to our projects. We try to reduce God to a size that conveniently fits our plans and ambitions and tastes. But our scriptures are even more stubborn in telling us that we can't do it. God cannot be fit into our plans. We must fit into his. We cannot use God. God is not a tool or an appliance or a credit card. Holy is the word that sets God apart and above our attempts to enlist him in our wish fulfillment fantasies or our utopian schemes for making our mark in the world. Holy means that God is alive on God's terms, alive in a way that exceeds our experience and imagination. Holy refers to life burning with an intense purity that transforms everything it touches into itself. Because the core of all living is God, and God is a holy God, we require much teaching and long training for living in response to God as he is and not as we want him to be. The book of Leviticus is a narrative pause in the story of our ancestors as they are on their way, saved out of Egypt, to settle in the land of Canaan. It is a kind of extended time out of instruction, a detailed and meticulous preparation for living holy in a culture that doesn't have the faintest idea what holy is. The moment these people enter Canaan, they will be picking their way through a lethal minefield of gods and goddesses that are designed to appeal to our God fantasies. Give us what we want when we want it on our own terms. What these God fantasies do, in fact, is cripple or kill us. Leviticus is a start at the much teaching and long training that continues to be adapted and reworked in every country and culture where God is forming a saved people to live as he created them to live. Holy as God is holy. The first thing that strikes us as we read Leviticus in this light is that this holy God is actually present with us, and virtually every detail of our lives is affected by the presence of this holy God. Nothing in us, our relationships, or our environment is left out. The second thing is that God provides a way, the sacrifices and feasts and Sabbaths, to bring everything in and about us into his holy presence, transformed in the fiery blaze of the holy. It is an awesome thing to come into his presence, and we, like ancient Israel, stand in his presence at every moment, from Psalms 139. Our Lord is not dwelling in a tent or house in our neighborhood, but he makes his habitation in us and among us as believers and says, I am holy, you be holy. It's from 1 Peter 1:16, citing Leviticus 11:44 through 45, blah, blah, blah. Once we realize this, the seemingly endless details and instructions of Leviticus, they become signposts of good news to us. God cares that much about the details of our lives, wheeling everything in and about us into the transformation that St. Paul later commended. So here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. It's from Romans 12, 1 through 2. Who's this from? By the time he wrote Leviticus, Moses' attitude towards the holy God had moved from ignorance to terror to fascination and then love. He had tried being a brave freedom fighter on his own terms and had ended up committing murder. When those utopian fantasies were far behind him and he only wanted to be left alone to raise sheep for his father-in-law, God sent him to be his people's great liberator on God's terms. Now, every day of his life brought encounters with the glorious and untamable holy. Who's this to? Back in Egypt, a great God's holiness meant that only rich and well-connected people could expect any attention. For daily needs, ordinary people stuck to household gods who did what you wanted. Magic was popular too, because if you did the spell, you controlled the result. In Canaan, where the Israelites were heading, things were worse, if that's even possible. Canaanite gods liked orgies and child sacrifice, just for starters. No wonder the Israelites needed to get clear on what their God meant by holiness. When was this written? Around 1280 through 1240 BC. Egyptians were still using hieroglyphics, and Mesopotamians loved that cuneiform writing on clay tablets. But the hot new communications technology was the alphabet, which the Canaanites invented. The oldest surviving examples of Chinese writing also came from this period, which was the Shang dynasty.